Please save my grandma! The black boy screamed it, standing in a garage doorway in Atlanta, Georgia, in the summer of 2024, tears pouring down his dark face. 10 bikers turned toward him. The music died. Someone dropped a tool. It clanged against the floor, and nobody moved to pick it up. The kid looked maybe 7 years old. His backpack hung crooked off one shoulder. His sneakers were covered in dust like he'd been running for miles. But that wasn't what made everyone freeze. It was what he said next. He's going to make her disappear. Tonight, a man with a metal hand stood up slowly from the bike he'd been working on. He walked toward the boy, boots heavy on concrete. When he got close enough, he crouched down, looked the kid straight in the eyes. "Who's trying to hurt her?" The boy's voice shook. Her son. You could hear the sharp intake of breath from somewhere in the back. A woman with braids stepped forward, arms crossed tight. The man with the metal hand didn't move. "Family," the boy nodded, lips trembling. He brought people, lawyers, papers. He said she's too old, that her mind's going bad. But it's not true. She remembers everything. What does he want? Everything she built, the whole company. He's making her sign it all away. The man's jaw tightened. His metal fingers clicked softly as they flexed. And if she doesn't, the boy's face crumpled. He said they'd take me, that the state would come because she's not fit to take care of a kid anymore. The woman with braids cursed under her breath. The man with the metal hand looked up at her. Something passed between them, an understanding. He turned back to the boy. "What's your name?" "Jamal." "You ran here by yourself?" Jamal nodded fast. "Grandma told me once that if I ever needed real help, I should come here. She said you were good people." The man's face didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. "She said that?" "Yes, sir." "What's her name?" Jamal swallowed hard. "Loretta? Everyone calls her Mama Loretta." The reaction was instant. The woman with braids put her hand over her mouth. Someone in the back swore. A younger guy with a shaved head stepped forward. "Loretta Washington?" Jamal nodded. The man with the metal hand stood up. He turned to face the others. His voice came out low and steady, but there was steel underneath. "How many people in this room owe that woman something?" Hands went up. "Not everyone, but most." He nodded slowly. "She gave me a job 15 years ago when I got out. No one else would even talk to me. I had nothing. She didn't ask questions. Just handed me keys to a truck and said, 'Show me what you're made of.'" The woman with braids spoke up, voice tight. "She loaned me money when my daughter was sick, hospital bills piling up. She showed up at my door with an envelope, told me to pay it back whenever I could. I never did. She never asked." More voices. "She hired my brother when he came back from overseas. PTSD. Couldn't hold a job. She gave him a chance. She let me stay in one of her trailers when I had nowhere to go. She paid for my mom's funeral when I couldn't afford it." The man with the metal hand looked back at Jamal. "When's he coming back?" "Tomorrow morning with more people. He said it's the last time. Where's your grandma now?" "At home alone." The man's metal hand clenched into a fist. The sound echoed in the silence. He looked at the woman with braids. "Get everyone. We leave now." She nodded and disappeared toward the back of the garage. The man crouched down in front of Jamal again. "You ever been on a motorcycle?" Jamal shook his head, eyes wide. "You're about to be. You'll ride with me. Hold on tight and don't let go. Can you do that?" "Yes, sir." "Good." He put his hand on Jamal's shoulder. His voice dropped even lower. "You did the right thing coming here." That took courage. Jamal's lip trembled. "Are you really going to help her?" The man didn't smile, but his eyes burned with something fierce. She saved my life once. Now I save hers." The woman with braids came back with more people. Men and women pulling on leather vests, checking pockets, strapping on helmets. The garage filled with the sound of boots and voices and zippers. Engines roared to life, one, then another, then all of them at once. The sound shook the walls, made your chest vibrate. The man lifted Jamal onto the back of his bike, handed him a helmet that was way too big. "Hold on to my vest. Don't let go no matter what." Jamal grabbed the leather with both hands. His fingers went white. The man looked back one more time. "What's his name?" "The uncle." Jamal's voice was small. "Darius, but everyone calls him Slick." The man's face went hard as stone. He turned forward, hands gripping the handlebars. Not for long. The bikes rolled out into the night, headlights cutting through darkness. The roar echoed down empty streets like thunder. Jamal held on tight, his heart hammering in his chest. Somewhere across town, his grandma sat alone in a house that used to feel safe, and the man she called her son was counting money he didn't earn, signing papers that weren't his to sign, making plans to erase a woman who gave him life. He thought he'd already won. He thought no one would stop him. He didn't know about the boy who ran through the night, and he sure didn't know about the people who never forget a debt. The man with the metal hand had a name, but Jamal hadn't asked it yet. He would learn it soon enough. Everyone would. The house stood quiet in the dark. A small place with peeling paint and a porch light that flickered. The bikes pulled up across the street, engines cutting off one by one, until the only sound was the wind and distant traffic. The man with the metal hand helped Jamal off the bike. The boy's legs were shaking. "Is she in there?" Jamal nodded toward the lit window. "Kitchen. That's where she always sits at night." The woman with braids knelt beside him. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Jamal." "I'm Keisha." She touched his shoulder gently. "We're going to go talk to your grandma now. You did good getting us here." The man with the metal hand looked at two others. "Diesel, wrench, check the perimeter. I want to know if anyone's watching this place." They nodded and disappeared into the shadows. He turned to Jamal. "Come on." They walked up the porch steps. The wood creaked under their boots. Before they could knock, the door opened. An old woman stood there, small gray hair pulled back, eyes sharp despite the lines around them. She looked at the bikers, then down at Jamal. "Baby, what did you do?" Jamal ran to her, wrapped his arms around her waist. "I'm sorry, Grandma. I was scared. I didn't know what else to do." She held him tight, one hand on the back of his head. When she looked up at the man with the metal hand, her face changed. Recognition flickered across it. "Malik Johnson." He nodded once. "Mama, it's been a long time." "Yes, Mama." She studied his face. Then she looked at the others standing behind him on the porch. "You brought your whole crew," the boy said. "You needed help." Her jaw tightened. She looked down at Jamal. "Go inside and get ready for bed." "But Grandma, now baby." Jamal hesitated, then disappeared into the house. Loretta stepped out onto the porch and closed the door behind her. She crossed her arms. "This is family business, Malik. Not when family turns into a threat." Her face didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Pain, maybe, or shame. Keisha spoke up, voice soft. "Mama Loretta, we heard what's happening." "What?" "Darius is trying to do." Loretta's shoulders sagged just a little, just enough to show the weight she'd been carrying. "He's my son." "And you're his mother," Malik said. "That should mean something." "It doesn't. Not anymore." She looked away toward the street. He showed up 3 days ago with lawyers, papers, some doctor I've never met who says I'm losing my mind. Are you? She looked back at him, eyes blazing. Do I look like I'm losing my mind? No, ma'am. I run a company, 23 employees, 10 trucks. I do the books myself. I know every route, every client, every invoice. My mind is fine. Then what does he want? Money. What else? Her voice went bitter. He's in debt, deep. I don't know the details, but I hear things. Gambling bad people. He needs cash fast, and he sees my business as the answer. Keisha frowned. Can't you just refuse to sign? I tried. Loretta's voice cracked just a little. He said, if I don't cooperate, he'll have me declared incompetent. He's got a judge lined up, some friend of his. And if that happens, Jamal goes into the system. Malik's metal hand clenched. He threatened the boy. He did more than threaten. He said the state would take him, that a 7-year-old can't live with a woman who's mentally unfit. Her eyes filled, but she didn't let the tears fall. I raised that boy, his mother, my daughter. She's gone. Jamal is all I have left. The door behind them opened a crack. Diesel stepped out. Boss, we got a problem. Malik turned. What? There's a car parked 2 blocks down. Been sitting there for an hour. 2 men inside. They're watching the house. Loretta's face went pale. He's having me watched. Malik's jaw tightened. He looked at Keisha. Get eyes on that car. I want to know who they are and who sent them. Keisha nodded and left. Malik turned back to Loretta. Tell me about Darius. Everything. Loretta took a shaky breath. He was a good boy once, long time ago, but he got in with the wrong crowd. Started gambling, cards, sports, anything with odds. Lost his job, lost his wife. I tried to help him, gave him money more times than I can count. But it was never enough. When did it turn bad? About 6 months ago, he showed up here asking for $50,000. Said it was life or death. I didn't have it. Business has been tight. I told him no. She looked down. He didn't take it well. What did he say? That I'd regret it. That I was choosing my business over my own son. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Maybe I was. You can't save someone who won't save themselves, Malik said quietly. He's still my blood. And Jamal's your blood too. Who do you choose? Loretta's face crumpled for just a moment. Then she pulled herself together, straightened her shoulders. I choose the boy. I always choose the boy. Keisha came back up the porch steps. Her face was dark. Boss, those men in the car, they're not cops, and they're not private security either. Then who are they? Enforcers, the kind people hire when they want someone pressured or worse. Loretta's hand went to her throat. He hired muscle. Looks like it. Malik's voice went cold. He's not just stealing from you. He's making sure you can't fight back. Loretta looked at him, fear finally breaking through. What do I do? Malik stepped closer. His voice dropped low. You let us handle it. I can't ask you to. You're not asking. We're offering. He looked her straight in the eyes. You gave me a life when I had nothing. You didn't ask questions. You didn't judge. You just handed me keys and told me to prove myself. His metal hand caught the porch light. Now I'm returning the favor. Loretta's eyes filled again. This time a tear slipped down her cheek. Why? Because some debts don't get paid with money. Keisha put a hand on Loretta's arm. We're not leaving you alone with this. Not tonight, not ever. Loretta nodded, unable to speak. Malik looked at Diesel. I want shifts on this house. 2 people at all times. No one gets close without us knowing. Done. He turned back to Loretta. Tomorrow morning when Darius shows up, we'll be here, and he's going to learn that his mother isn't as alone as he thought. Loretta wiped her eyes. He won't back down easy. Neither will we. Inside the house, through the window, Jamal watched from behind a curtain. his small face pressed against the glass. The man with the metal hand, Malik, looked up and saw him. He nodded once. A promise. Jamal nodded back. And somewhere across town, Darius Slick Washington poured himself another drink, counted his chips, and made plans to finish what he started. He thought his mother was weak. He thought she was alone. Tomorrow he'd learn just how wrong he was. Morning came too fast. Loretta hadn't slept. She sat at the kitchen table with cold coffee and papers spread out in front of her, legal documents she couldn't fully understand. Words like power of attorney and conservatorship and incompetence hearing. Jamal sat across from her drawing on scrap paper. He kept looking up at her, then back down at his crayons. Grandma. Yes, baby. Are the bikers still outside? She looked toward the window. Two of them sat on the porch. Diesel and another man she didn't know. They'd been there all night switching shifts, keeping watch. They're still there. Good. Jamal went back to his drawing. A motorcycle, big and black, with flames on the side. A knock at the door made them both jump. Loretta stood slowly, hand on the table for support. Her knees weren't what they used to be. Malik stood on the other side of the screen door. Morning, ma'am. Morning. Can I come in? She pushed the door open. He stepped inside, taking off his sunglasses. His eyes looked tired but sharp. You didn't sleep either, she said. Not much. He looked at the papers on the table. What are those? Everything Darius left for me to sign. I've been trying to understand them. Malik picked up one of the pages. Read it slowly. His jaw tightened. This isn't just power of attorney. This is a full transfer of assets. If you sign this, you lose everything. The business, the house, your bank accounts, everything. Loretta's hands trembled as she poured herself more coffee. I know. And you were going to sign it. What choice do I have? Her voice broke. He said, If I don't, they take Jamal. I can't lose that boy, Malik. He's all I have left. Malik set the paper down carefully. There might be another way. Loretta looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. What way? Keisha made some calls this morning. There's a lawyer in town, woman named Patricia Hendress. She specializes in elder law. Cases like this. I can't afford a lawyer. You don't have to. She owes me a favor. He pulled out a business card and set it on the table. She's expecting your call. Loretta picked up the card with shaking hands. You think she can help? I think she can fight. That's more than you have right now. For the first time in days, Loretta smiled. Just a little. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. An hour later, Loretta was on the phone. Malik and Jamal sat in the living room listening to her voice rise and fall through the kitchen doorway. When she came back, her face looked different, lighter. She said she can file an emergency motion. Stop the conservatorship hearing until we can prove Darius's claims are false. Malik nodded. When? This afternoon. She's going to the courthouse now. Jamal jumped up from the couch. Does that mean Uncle Darius can't take you away? Loretta knelt down and pulled him into a hug. It means we have a chance, baby. Keisha came in through the front door. Judge assigned to the case is Harris Thornton. You know him? Malik shook his head. Never heard of him. I looked him up. Clean record, 20 years on the bench. No complaints, no scandals. She pulled out her phone and showed them a picture. Looks like a straight shooter. Loretta's smile grew. Then maybe we really do have a chance. The hours crawled by. Loretta paced. Jamal drew more motorcycles. Malik sat still as stone, watching the street through the window. At 3, Loretta's phone rang. She answered it fast. Hello. Yes, this is Loretta Washington. Yes, I understand. Her face went pale. What? But you said no, Yes, thank you. She hung up. Her hand dropped to her side. What happened? Malik stood up. Loretta's voice came out flat, empty. Judge Thornton recused himself. What does that mean? It means he's not taking the case. He said there's a conflict of interest. Something about knowing Darius from a business deal years ago. She looked at Malik, eyes hollow. The case got transferred to Judge Marcus Delway. Keisha cursed under her breath. Delway? You know him? Malik asked. By reputation. He's been accused of taking bribes twice. Nothing ever stuck but people talk. She looked at Loretta. He's not clean. Loretta sank into a chair. Darius got to him. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Her voice was barely a whisper. Harris Thornton was our hope. He was honest. And somehow Darius made him step down. Now we get a judge who can be bought. Malik's metal hand clenched. When's the hearing? Tomorrow morning 9:00. Then we have tonight to figure something out. Loretta shook her head. There's nothing to figure out. Darius won. He always wins. Jamal climbed into her lap. Don't say that, Grandma. She held him tight, tears finally breaking through. I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. Malik knelt in front of them. Listen to me. This isn't over. Yes, it is. No. His voice was still. We're not done fighting. Loretta looked at him through tears. What can you possibly do? He has lawyers, judges, money. What do we have? Malik stood up, looked at Keisha, then at Diesel standing in the doorway. We have each other, and we have the truth. He turned back to Loretta. Tomorrow morning, when you walk into that courtroom, you're not walking in alone. That won't matter. It will, because when people see you have support, when they see you're not just some old woman being pushed around, it changes things. Judges notice, lawyers notice. Loretta wiped her eyes. You really believe that? I've seen it before. She wanted to believe him. You could see it on her face. But hope was hard when you'd been beaten down so many times. Keisha knelt beside Malik. Mama Loretta, before we go any further, I want to ask you something. Where are you watching from right now? I mean, where in the world are people hearing your story? Loretta blinked, confused. What? Your story matters. Not just here in Atlanta, but everywhere. People need to know that this happens. That family can turn on you. That you can fight back. She touched Loretta's hand. So tell me, if someone's listening to this from another city, another country, what would you want them to know? Loretta's voice was quiet. That you're never too old to need help, and you're never too alone to ask for it. Malik nodded. Remember that tomorrow. Night fell. The bikers kept watch. Loretta tried to sleep and couldn't. And across town in a downtown office, Darius Slick Washington poured expensive whiskey and laughed with a man in a black robe. Judge Marcus Delway raised his glass. To family. Slick grinned. To family. They clinked glasses. Tomorrow Loretta would walk into that courtroom, and she'd learn that hope was just another thing people could steal. The courthouse smelled like old wood and broken promises. Loretta sat on a bench outside the courtroom, hands folded in her lap. She wore her best dress, the blue one she'd worn to her daughter's funeral. She didn't know why she'd chosen it. Maybe because it felt like another ending. Jamal sat beside her, legs swinging because his feet didn't reach the floor. He held her hand tight. Malik stood against the wall, arms crossed. Keisha sat on Loretta's other side. Diesel and 3 other bikers lined the hallway. People walking by stared, whispered. Security guards kept glancing their way. At 8:45, the courtroom doors opened. A bailiff stepped out. Washington case. Judge Delway is ready. Loretta stood slowly. Her knees shook. Malik moved beside her. You don't have to do this alone. They won't let you in. Family only. Then we'll be right outside every second. She nodded, couldn't speak. Patricia Hendress, the lawyer Malik had found, appeared from around the corner. Professional suit, briefcase, confident walk. She touched Loretta's arm. Ready? Loretta looked down at Jamal. Baby, you need to stay out here with Malik. No. Jamal's voice was small but firm. I'm coming with you, sweetheart. I want to tell the judge. I want to tell him you're not sick, that Uncle Darius is lying. Patricia knelt down. Honey, they might not let you speak, but if they do, you have to be very brave. Can you do that? Jamal nodded hard. Loretta's eyes filled. She looked at Malik. He nodded once. They walked into the courtroom. It was smaller than Loretta expected. Wooden benches, high ceiling, a Georgia flag in the corner. Judge Marcus Delway sat behind the bench, 50s, gray hair, expensive suit under his robe. He looked bored. Darius sat at the other table with two lawyers. When he saw Loretta and Jamal, he smiled. Not a real smile, the kind predators make. Loretta's stomach turned. All rise, the bailiff said. Everyone stood. The judge barely looked up from his papers. Be seated. Let's make this quick. He shuffled pages. Case number 47B, conservatorship petition for Loretta Ellen Washington. Mr. Washington, you're the petitioner? Darius stood. Yes, Your Honor. And you're seeking full conservatorship over your mother due to mental incompetence. That's correct, Your Honor. It breaks my heart, but it's necessary. She's a danger to herself and to my nephew. His voice was smooth, practiced like he'd rehearsed it 100 times. Loretta's hands clenched in her lap. Judge Delway looked at Patricia. And you're representing Mrs. Washington? I am, Your Honor, and we strongly contest these claims. Mrs. Washington is fully competent. She runs a successful business and has done so for over 30 years. I have a medical report here that says otherwise. The judge held up a document. Dr. Leonard Voss examined Mrs. Washington and found significant cognitive decline. Patricia stood. Your Honor, Mrs. Washington has never met Dr. Voss. That examination never took place. The report is notarized. The report is fraudulent. Judge Delway's face went cold. Careful, counselor. Your Honor, I have Mrs. Washington's actual medical records from her longtime physician, Dr. Sarah Chen. They show no signs of cognitive decline whatsoever. I'll review them, but I'm inclined to trust Dr. Voss's professional opinion. Loretta felt the floor dropping out from under her. Darius's lawyer stood. Your Honor, we also have testimony from Mrs. Washington's employees. Several have expressed concern about her decision-making. Patricia's jaw tightened. Names, please. The lawyer pulled out papers. Edward Callahan, for one. He's been with the company for 8 years. He states that Mrs. Washington has been increasingly erratic, forgetting shipments, losing documents, making dangerous decisions. Loretta's breath caught. Eddie, one of her most trusted workers, the man she'd helped through a divorce, the man whose son's birthday she never forgot. He'd turned on her. Patricia leaned over. Did you know about this? Loretta shook her head, numb. Judge Delway looked at Loretta for the first time. Mrs. Washington, do you have anything to say? She stood slowly. Her voice came out quieter than she wanted. Your Honor, I'm not sick. My mind is fine. I do my own books. I manage my own business. I take care of my grandson. And yet, your own employee says you're unfit. He's lying. Why would he lie? Because my son paid him to. Darius stood up fast. That's a serious accusation, Mother. Don't call me that. Not anymore. Judge Delway banged his gavel once. Mrs. Washington, sit down. She didn't. Your Honor, my son is drowning in gambling debt. He needs money. He sees my business as an easy solution. This whole case is about theft, not about my well-being. Do you have proof of these gambling debts? She faltered. Not with me, but then it's speculation. He looked at his papers. Based on the evidence presented, I'm prepared to grant temporary conservatorship to Mr. Darius Washington pending a full psychiatric evaluation of Mrs. Washington. Patricia shot to her feet. Your Honor, that's premature. We haven't even presented our case. I've heard enough. Your Honor, please. My decision stands. He looked at Darius. You'll have limited access to her accounts and business operations until the evaluation is complete. 30 days. Darius smiled. A real one this time. Loretta felt something break inside her chest. Jamal jumped up. No, that's not fair. The judge frowned. Young man, sit down. He's lying. My uncle is a bad man. He's trying to steal from Grandma. Bailiff, remove the child. No. Loretta grabbed Jamal's arm. Please, he's just scared. Darius stood. Your Honor, this is exactly what I'm talking about. She can't control him. She's not fit. Jamal's face went red. I hate you. You're a liar. The bailiff moved toward them. Loretta pulled Jamal behind her. Patricia stepped between them. Your Honor, please. The child is upset. Give us a moment. Judge Delway's face was stone. This hearing is over. Temporary conservatorship granted. Mrs. Washington, you have 30 days to prove your competence. If you can't, full conservatorship will be granted to your son. He banged the gavel. We're done here. He stood and walked out through a side door. Just like that. It was over. Loretta couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The room spun. Darius walked over. That smile still on his face. He leaned close, whispered so only she could hear. You should have signed when I gave you the chance. Now I take it all anyway. And when the 30 days are up, you'll be in a facility, and the boy will be in state care. You did this to yourself, Mother. He straightened up, nodded to his lawyers. They walked out together. Loretta stood there empty. Patricia touched her arm. We're not done fighting. We can appeal, It's over. Loretta's voice was hollow. He won. Jamal buried his face in her side, sobbing. The courtroom doors opened. Malik stepped in, eyes scanning. He saw Loretta's face and his jaw clenched. What happened? Loretta couldn't answer. She just shook her head. Patricia spoke for her. Temporary conservatorship granted. 30 days to appeal. Malik's metal hand flexed. They can't do that. They just did. Outside in the hallway, Darius stood talking on his phone, laughing, already making plans. Malik walked past him. Their eyes met. Darius's smile faltered for just a second. Then he turned away, still talking. Loretta walked out of the courthouse like a ghost. Jamal clung to her hand. The bikers fell in around them, silent. She got to the bottom of the steps and stopped. Just stood there, staring at nothing. Mama Loretta. Keisha's voice was soft. Loretta looked up. I lost everything. No, you didn't. He has my business. In 30 days he'll have me locked away and Jamal in foster care. I can't beat him. I can't beat the system. Her voice cracked. I'm too old, too tired, too alone. Malik stepped in front of her, made her look at him. You're not alone, and you're not done. Yes, I am. No. His voice was steel. You're not. Behind them, a black SUV pulled up to the curb. 2 men in suits got out, the same ones who'd been watching the house. They walked straight toward Loretta. Malik moved in front of her. The other bikers closed ranks. One of the men pulled out a paper. Loretta Washington? Who's asking? Malik's voice was low. Dangerous. We're here to inventory the assets of Washington Hauling Company on behalf of the temporary conservator, Darius Washington. We need access to the property today. Loretta's face went white. He's taking it already. He has legal authority now, Mama. She felt it then. The final crack. The moment when everything breaks and can't be put back together. Her knees buckled. Malik caught her. "I got you." But she couldn't hear him anymore. Couldn't hear anything except the sound of her own heartbeat, and her grandson crying and 30 years of work disappearing in a single morning. The men stood there waiting, and Darius Washington sat in his car across the street, watching it all through tinted windows, smiling. The two men in suits stood on the courthouse steps, paper in hand, waiting for an answer. Loretta couldn't speak, couldn't move. She just stared at them like they were speaking a language she didn't understand. Malik's voice cut through the silence. Cold. Final. No. The taller man frowned. "Excuse me, you heard me? No, you're not going anywhere near that property. Sir, we have a court order. Temporary conservatorship gives Mr. Washington the right to— I don't care what the paper says." Malik stepped forward. The other bikers moved with him, a wall of leather and chrome and muscle. "That woman built that business with her own hands, and you're not taking it." The shorter man reached for his phone. "I'm calling the police. Go ahead." Malik's voice didn't change. "Call them. Tell them a bunch of bikers are protecting an old woman from being robbed by her own son. See how that plays in the media." The man hesitated. Keisha stepped up beside Malik. "You know what's funny? Court orders take time to enforce paperwork, procedures, red tape. Could be days before you actually get access to that property." She smiled, but there was no warmth in it, and a lot can happen in a few days. The two men exchanged looks. The taller one folded the paper back into his jacket. "This isn't over." "No," Malik said quietly. "It's not." They walked back to their SUV, drove away. Loretta finally found her voice. "They'll come back with police with let them." Malik turned to face her. "Loretta, I need you to listen to me. Can you do that?" She nodded, numb. "We're not giving up. You hear me? We're not done." "Malik, you saw what happened in there. The judge doesn't care. Darius has everything lined up. The system is broken. I know that. You know that." His metal hand caught the sunlight. "But the system isn't the only power in this world." Diesel spoke up from behind them. "Boss, we need to move. They're going to regroup fast." Malik looked at Patricia, the lawyer. "How long do we have realistically?" She adjusted her briefcase. "If they push hard, 24 hours before they get law enforcement involved. Maybe less. Then we have 24 hours to find something they can't ignore." "Like what?" Malik looked at Keisha. "You said Eddie Callahan testified against Loretta?" "Yeah, said she was losing her mind, forgetting things, making bad decisions." "Where does Eddie live?" Keisha pulled out her phone, started typing. "Got an address east side, about 20 minutes from here." Malik nodded slowly. "We start there." Loretta grabbed his arm. "Malik, you can't threaten him. If he goes to the police, who said anything about threats?" Malik's face was calm, almost gentle. "We are just going to talk. Find out why a man who worked for you for 8 years suddenly decided you weren't fit to run your own business. Darius paid him. That's why. Maybe. Or maybe Darius has something on him. Leverage." Malik looked at Patricia. "Can you stall them if they come back?" "I can try. File some motions, claim procedural errors, but it won't hold forever. It doesn't have to. Just give us time." She nodded. "Be careful. If you do anything illegal, we won't." Malik turned to the others. "Wrench, Diesel, you're with me. Keisha, take Loretta and Jamal back to the house. Don't let them out of your sight." "What about the others?" Keisha asked. "Split up. Half at Loretta's house, half at the trucking yard. No one gets in without going through us first." The bikers moved fast. Engines roared to life. Within minutes, the courthouse steps were empty, except for Patricia, standing alone with her briefcase. She watched them ride away and whispered to herself, "God help Darius Washington." Eddie Callahan lived in a small house, with a chain-link fence and dead grass. A rusted pickup sat in the driveway. The paint was peeling. The mailbox hung crooked. Malik knocked on the door. Heavy, steady, the kind of knock you can't ignore. It took a minute, but the door opened. Eddie stood there in a stained t-shirt and jeans, 40-something thinning hair, tired eyes. When he saw Malik, his face went pale. "I don't want any trouble. Then you shouldn't have lied in court." Malik's voice was calm. "Too calm. I didn't lie. You told a judge that Loretta Washington was losing her mind, that she was dangerous, that she couldn't run her own business." Malik stepped closer. "We both know that's not true." Eddie backed up into his house. Malik followed. Diesel and Wrench stayed on the porch, watching. "Man, you don't understand. I didn't have a choice. Everyone has a choice. Not when you owe 40 grand to people who break kneecaps for fun." Eddie's voice cracked. "Slick came to me 3 months ago. Said if I helped him, he'd pay off my debt. If I didn't, he'd tell his people where I lived." Malik's face didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. "What people?" "I don't know their names, but I've seen them. They came to my house once, made it real clear what would happen if I didn't pay up." Eddie ran a hand through his hair. "I got into sports betting. Stupid, I know, but I thought I could win it back. I couldn't. So you sold out the woman who gave you a job?" Eddie looked down, shame written all over his face. "Yeah, I did." The silence stretched out heavy. Malik pulled out his phone, hit record. "Say it again. All of it. Why you lied, who paid you. Everything." Eddie's eyes went wide. "Man, if Slick finds out, Slick's going to find out anyway. Question is, do you want to be on the right side when this is over, or do you want to go down with him?" Eddie swallowed hard, looked at the phone, then back at Malik. "If I do this, those people he owes money to, they'll come after me. Not if Slick's in jail, and trust me, after we're done, that's exactly where he's going." Eddie stared at the floor for a long moment. Then he looked up. Okay, I'll tell you everything." Malik held up the phone. Eddie took a breath and started talking. Back at Loretta's house, she sat at the kitchen table. Jamal was asleep on the couch, finally worn out from crying. Keisha made coffee. The house was quiet, except the sound of motorcycles idling outside. Loretta looked at Keisha. "Why are you doing this?" "Doing what? Risking everything for me. For my business. You don't owe me anything." Keisha sat down 2 mugs of coffee, sat across from Loretta. "You really don't remember me, do you?" Loretta frowned. "Should I?" 15 years ago, I was broke living in my car with my little girl. I applied for a job at your company. Dispatcher, you looked at my application and saw I had no experience, no references, nothing." Loretta shook her head slowly. "I hired a lot of people over the years. You hired me anyway. You said experience doesn't mean much if someone's willing to learn and show up. You gave me a chance when I had nothing." Keisha's voice softened. "My daughter just graduated college last month, full-ride scholarship. She's going to be a teacher." Loretta's eyes filled. "I remember now." "Angela. Your daughter's name is Angela." Keisha nodded. "You saved our lives, Mama Loretta. Both of us. So, yeah, we owe you. Every single person out there on those bikes owes you something." She reached across the table and took Loretta's hand. "And we don't forget our debts." Loretta couldn't speak, just held Keisha's hand and cried. A motorcycle pulled up outside, boots on the porch. The door opened. Malik walked in. He looked at Loretta. His face was still hard, but there was something different in his eyes now. "Hope we got him." Loretta stood up fast. "What? Eddie Callahan just confessed everything on video, how Slick paid him to lie, how he threatened him, how the whole thing was a setup." Malik set his phone on the table. We have proof now. Real proof. Loretta's hand went to her mouth. Oh my God, there's more. Eddie gave us names. The people Slick owes money to. Turns out they've been looking for him too. He's in deep, deeper than we thought. Malik's jaw tightened. And we're about to make sure everyone knows it. Keisha stood up. What do we do now? Malik looked at Loretta. Now we stop playing defense and start hitting back. Loretta felt something she hadn't felt in days, something she thought she'd lost forever. She felt like fighting. What do you need from me? Malik almost smiled. Just trust us. Can you do that? She nodded. Yes. Good. He looked at Keisha. Get that video to Patricia. Tell her to file an emergency motion first thing in the morning. Fraud, coercion, everything on it. Malik turned back to Loretta. Tomorrow morning, we go back to that courthouse, but this time we're not asking for justice. His metal hand clenched. We're taking it. Outside, more motorcycles arrived. The street filled with the sound of engines. Brothers and sisters of the road. People who understood what it meant to stand together. Loretta walked to the window, looked out at them. All of them there because of her, because she'd given them chances when no one else would. And now they were giving her one back. If you believe no one should face their nightmare alone, if you believe family isn't just blood, but the people who show up when it matters most, then stay with this story. Because what's about to happen next will remind you that some battles aren't won in courtrooms. They're won by people who refuse to let good people get destroyed. Jamal stirred on the couch, opened his eyes, saw his grandmother standing tall for the first time in days. Grandma? She turned to him, smiled. A real smile. Yeah, baby. Are we going to be okay? Loretta knelt down beside him, brushed hair from his forehead. Yeah, baby. We're going to be okay. And for the first time, she actually believed it. The courthouse was different this time. Loretta walked up the steps with her head high. Jamal held her hand on one side. Malik walked on the other. Behind them, 20 motorcycles lined the street. Bikers stood on the sidewalk, arms crossed, watching. People stopped to stare. Phones came out. Pictures were taken. Patricia waited at the top of the steps, briefcase in hand. You ready? Loretta nodded. More than ready. Inside the hallway buzzed with whispers. Lawyers glanced at Loretta and looked away quickly. A clerk did a double take when she saw the bikers filing in behind her. Judge Delway's courtroom. Same room as yesterday, but everything felt different. Darius sat at his table with his lawyers. When Loretta walked in, he looked up, saw the bikers filling the benches behind her. His face went pale. One of his lawyers leaned over and whispered something. Darius shook his head, jaw tight. All rise. Judge Delway entered. He stopped short when he saw the packed courtroom. His eyes swept over the bikers. Something flickered across his face. Uncertainty, maybe. Be seated. His voice was less confident than yesterday. This is an emergency hearing requested by counsel for Loretta Washington. Ms. Hendress, you have the floor. Patricia stood. Your Honor, new evidence has come to light that fundamentally changes this case. Evidence that proves the conservatorship petition was based on fraud and coercion. Darius's lawyer jumped up. Your Honor, this is highly irregular. We were given no notice. You'll have your chance to respond. Judge Delway looked at Patricia. What evidence? A sworn video statement from Edward Callahan, the primary witness against Mrs. Washington. He admits he was paid by Darius Washington to lie under oath. He admits he was threatened and coerced. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Judge Delway banged his gavel. Order. Darius leaned over to his lawyer, whispering frantically. Patricia continued. Furthermore, We have documentation showing that Darius Washington owes over $200,000 in gambling debts to individuals connected to organized crime. His motivation for this conservatorship has nothing to do with his mother's well-being and everything to do with accessing her assets to pay his debts. Judge Delway's face went hard. You have this video? I do, Your Honor. Patricia pulled out a tablet. I'd like to play it for the court. Objection. Darius's lawyer was on his feet. This is ambush tactics. We need time to review. Overruled. Judge Delway's voice was cold. Play it. Patricia set the tablet on a stand where everyone could see. Pressed play. Eddie Callahan's face filled the screen. He looked tired, scared, but his voice was clear. My name is Edward Callahan. I lied in court yesterday. Darius Washington paid me $5,000 to testify against Loretta Washington. He told me what to say, that she was losing her mind, that she couldn't run the business. None of it was true. The courtroom was silent. You could hear people breathing. Eddie kept talking. Loretta Washington is the sharpest person I know. She remembers everything. Every driver, every client, every route. She's not sick. Darius threatened me. Said if I didn't help him, people he owed money to would come after me. I was scared. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The video ended. Judge Delway sat back in his chair, stared at Darius. Darius stood up fast. Your Honor, this is clearly coerced testimony. These bikers obviously threatened. Sit down, Mr. Washington. The judge's voice was ice. But, Your Honor, I said sit down. Darius sat. His hands were shaking. Judge Delway looked at Patricia. Anything else? Yes, Your Honor. We have phone records showing multiple calls between Darius Washington and Dr. Leonard Voss, the physician who supposedly examined Mrs. Washington. We believe Dr. Voss was also paid to falsify his report. Darius's lawyer stood again. Your Honor, I'd like to request a recess to review this new denied. Judge Delway's face was stone. I've seen enough. He looked at Darius, really looked at him. Mr. Washington, did you pay Edward Callahan to give false testimony? Darius's mouth opened, closed. No words came out. Did you fabricate medical evidence to support your petition? Silence. Did you attempt to defraud your own mother to pay gambling debts? Darius finally found his voice. Your Honor, I can explain. No, you can't. Judge Delway's voice was sharp. Because there is no explanation for what you've done. You tried to steal from your mother. You tried to have her declared incompetent. You threatened witnesses. You falsified evidence. He leaned forward. And you did it all in my courtroom. Darius stood up. I need to leave. Sit down. I have rights. Bailiff. If Mr. Washington attempts to leave, detain him. The bailiff stepped forward. Darius sat back down, face red. Judge Delway turned to Loretta. Mrs. Washington, on behalf of this court, I apologize. This should never have happened. Loretta stood slowly. Her voice was steady, strong. Your Honor, I don't want an apology from the court. I want one from my son. Everyone turned to look at Darius. He stared at the table, wouldn't meet her eyes. Loretta stepped out from behind her table, walked across the courtroom, stood right in front of him. Look at me. Darius kept his eyes down. I said, look at me. Slowly he raised his head. There were tears on his face, real ones. Loretta's voice shook, but not with weakness, with rage, with heartbreak, with 30 years of love turned to ash. I gave you life. I fed you, clothed you, worked myself to the bone to give you everything. And this is how you repay me. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You tried to erase me like I was nothing. Darius's lips trembled. Mom, I don't call me that. You lost that right. She turned her back on him, walked back to her table, picked up Jamal and held him close. Judge Delway's voice cut through the silence. The petition for conservatorship is denied. All temporary orders are dissolved immediately. Mrs. Washington retains full control of her assets and business. He looked at Darius. As for you, Mr. Washington, I'm referring this case to the district attorney for criminal investigation. Fraud, perjury, elder abuse. You'll be hearing from them. Darius stood up fast. Your Honor, please, bailiff, escort Mr. Washington out of my courtroom. If he resists, place him under arrest. The bailiff moved toward Darius. His lawyers backed away, distancing themselves. Darius looked around wildly at the judge, at the bailiff, at Loretta. Mom, please, you don't understand. These people I owe money to, they'll hurt me. Loretta's voice was ice. You should have thought of that before you tried to hurt me. The bailiff took Darius's arm, led him toward the door. As he passed Loretta, Darius stopped. I'm still your son. Loretta looked him in the eyes. No, you're not. Not anymore. The courtroom doors closed behind him. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then Jamal's small voice broke the silence. Grandma, is it over? Loretta knelt down, pulled him into a hug so tight he squeaked, Yeah, baby, it's over. Behind them, the bikers stood one by one, silent, respectful. Malik stepped forward, put his hand on Loretta's shoulder. She turned and looked at him, tears streaming down her face, but she was smiling. Thank you. He nodded once. Family takes care of family. But I'm not. Yeah, you are. And in that moment, in that courtroom, surrounded by people who'd chosen to stand with her, Loretta Washington understood what family really meant. It wasn't blood. It was the people who showed up when the world tried to break you. 2 months later, the Washington hauling yard looked different now. Fresh paint on the office. New sign by the gate. It read, Washington Hauling Cumbers. Worker-owned, family protected. Loretta sat in her old chair on the porch, watching the sun set over the rows of trucks. Jamal sat beside her, drawing in a notebook. He'd gotten better at motorcycles, drew them with flames and chrome and perfect detail. A rumble echoed down the street, familiar now, comforting. Malik pulled up on his bike, cut the engine, walked over with a thermos of coffee. Thought you might need this? Loretta smiled. You know me too well. He poured 2 cups, sat down on the steps. They drank in comfortable silence. How's the cooperative working out? Malik asked. Better than I expected. The workers voted Eddie back in, believe it or not. He's been working double shifts trying to make up for what he did. She shook her head. I told them it was their choice. They chose mercy. That's because you taught them well. Loretta looked at him. What happened to Darius? Malik's face went hard for a moment. 18 months fraud and elder abuse. Could have been worse, but the DA gave him a deal when he testified against the people he owed money to. And the people he owed? Not your problem anymore. Federal case now. Loretta nodded slowly. I don't hate him, you know. Even after everything. I know. I just don't know who he is anymore. Maybe I never did. Malik didn't answer. Sometimes there were no words for that kind of hurt. Jamal looked up from his drawing. Malik, can I ask you something? Sure, kid. When I grow up, can I join the Iron Vows? Loretta's breath caught. Malik looked at her, then back at Jamal. You know what it means to be part of something like that? Jamal nodded seriously. It means you protect people. You show up when nobody else will. Your family, even when you're not blood. Malik's metal hand rested on Jamal's shoulder. Then, yeah, kid, when you're old enough, if you still want it, the door's open. Jamal grinned so wide his face looked like it might split. More bikes pulled up. Keisha, Diesel, Wrench, others. They did this every Friday now. Stopped by to check on Loretta, to have coffee, to just be there. It wasn't charity, it was family. Loretta watched them gather on her porch and in her yard, laughing, talking, living. She thought about everything that had happened. The fear, the betrayal, the moment she thought she'd lost everything. But she hadn't lost everything. She'd found something she didn't know she was missing. She'd found people who saw her, not as a business owner or a grandmother or an old woman past her prime. They saw her as Loretta, just Loretta. And that was enough. Keisha sat down beside her. "You okay, Mama Loretta?" Loretta smiled. "Yeah, I really am." "Good, because we're not going anywhere. You're stuck with us now. I can think of worse things." Malik stood up, raised his coffee cup. "To Loretta Washington, the woman who taught us that family isn't about who raised you. It's about who stands with you when the world tries to knock you down." The others raised their cups. To Loretta. She felt tears, but good ones this time. The kind that come when you realize you're not alone, that you never were. Jamal tugged on her sleeve. "Grandma, are we safe now?" She pulled him close, kissed the top of his head. "Yeah, baby, we're safe. Promise." "Promise." The sun dipped below the horizon. The yard filled with the sound of engines and laughter, and life continuing despite everything that tried to stop it. And Loretta Washington, 72 years old, founder of a company built on second chances, sat surrounded by people who'd given her one back. If this story touched something in you, if it reminded you that you're never too old to fight back and never too alone to ask for help, then don't walk away quietly. There are people in every corner of this world facing their own Darius Washington, their own courtrooms, their own moments where everything falls apart. But there are also people like Malik, like Keisha, like every single person who refuses to let good people get destroyed. You might be one of them. You might need one of them. Either way, you're not alone. None of us are. That's the real story here. Not that a boy saved his grandmother, but that a community decided one person's fight was everyone's fight. And that makes all the difference.